All right, everybody. Welcome. I appreciate you all taking time out of your Wednesday night to come out and participate in and listen to the information we're going to put out tonight. The Project Bright Future, just to give you a little bit of quick history, I don't want to spend a lot of time because we're going to spend a lot of time talking about it as we go forward, is an initiative that started about 18 months ago. I had businesses locally in Queen Anne's County come to me and express the desire to look into how do we get our business and education together, how do we advance career programs. So we started down a track last year during a legislative session to try and get some legislation through that would allow us to work as a region between the 5 counties in Chesapeake College. It did make it through, so we kind of stepped back and looked and decided that what we really needed to do was bring all the stakeholders together, as many as we could, parents, students, teachers, administrators, elected officials, and just about anybody else who will listen, to sit down and see the ideas we have, what we feel like is something that can be utilized going forward to advance and enhance the existing career programs and offer more programs and more opportunities to our students. I think we all realize that there is a workforce development shortage here in the country, and I want to thank our administration in Annapolis, our governor and lieutenant governor and their staff and administration for making it one of their initiatives to put forth an effort to create more opportunities for our kids through different career paths that's not the traditional college path, so to speak. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a product, real quick tell you, I'm a product of 35 years of blue-collar work. And you can get up on a stage like this and get to talk to a couple hundred people just by doing that. So there's no shame in it. And I think we need to go back to that. This country was founded by people, for those that haven't seen the video before, the theme is many hands. And this country was founded by using our head and our hands. And we are here today because of that. So without further ado, we want to keep it on schedule, and I know the Lieutenant Governor's got a busy schedule. I have the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Maryland, Mr. Boyd Rutherford, who's going to give us some opening remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Wilson, and good evening. I was about to say good morning. It's morning somewhere. The governor's in Australia, so it's morning for him. But it's good to be here on this evening to talk to you and greet you on this wonderful program, Queen Anne's County's Project Bright Future. You know, I am excited to be here to talk about the opportunities that, diverse opportunities that are available to young people as they look forward to their careers and what they want to do, their pathways to success. And I'm looking around, I see a few students, but I see mostly people with grayer hair or lack of hair like me. But the parents that are here, when you're talking to your kids with regard to the choices that they're going to be making over the next several years, it is very important that they consider the non-traditional 4-year college and different ways of going about finding a career. And it reminds me of this story where a person, and it typically happens on the hottest day of the year when your air conditioning goes out. Often it's the 4th of July weekend or some holiday weekend. And so this gentleman's air conditioning went out, so he called the air conditioner contractor, the HVAC person came out. He worked on his air conditioning, got it running, and then gave him an invoice for almost $800. And the homeowner said to him, he said, you've been here barely an hour and you're charging $800 for the work that you did? I'm a Harvard-trained lawyer and I don't even charge that. And the contractor said, well, yeah, I didn't charge that when I was a lawyer either. So, I say that because many of you your air conditioners are busted on a holiday weekend, you know that, it does cost a lot of money to get it done. You're paying for the quality of service that's being provided by that professional who is coming out and is providing a service that you pay for. So I say that it is a joke, it's an old joke, and you're free to use it. But it does illustrate that there's no real difference between the person who wears the suit and tie and the person who, has a little grease on their hands. There really isn't any difference, and that is actually those people who work with their hands, that's our entrepreneurial class. Those are the folks who start off working for somebody else. Hopefully we don't have anyone from labor and licensing here, but they may do some things on the side. And after a while, they buy themselves a truck, a work truck, and they're doing a little bit more. Usually it's family that they're doing on the side. And they decide to go off on their own. They have a helper, and it's two of them out there, then it's another helper, and then it's an apprentice, and then after a while, they have the big house on the hill and the boat out on the bay and, are doing quite well. So, there are many options other than the traditional college route. Now, the college route is good for some folks, but there are other options that are available. And it's good for not just the young person to know, but particularly the parents to know that these options are available and there's no shame in it. Often, what I found is that it's the parents that put a lot of the pressure on their kid to pursue the four-year career or four-year college, and not necessarily the kid. The kid doesn't really know. They know what the other kids are talking about, and the kids don't know what they're talking about. But the parents many times get caught up in this, this is the way it's supposed to be, or I want my child to be this type of, in this type of profession. But they may not necessarily want that. And so at least expose them to opportunities in career tech, and dual enrollment is another area. I think you'll hear a little bit about youth apprenticeship programs. Some of them are offered through the state. And it's important to let them explore what the possibilities are for the next chapter in their lives. The fact that you're here this evening, you're here to explore these opportunities, to talk to your young people about what the options may be before them. So I encourage you to ask questions and explore the options tonight as you then go back and talk to your kids. Now, there may be some kids here, I can't really tell. I can't tell age anymore anyway. But it's good to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. Good to see you, Mr. President. Did you know he at one time ran for lieutenant governor? Not in this state, in a different state. So, but he picked a more esteemed profession than being a politician. So, but thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Thank you for all your efforts. You're absolutely right that the state and the nation is suffering from a shortage of skilled labor and skilled labor force. So programs like this are very important. And they will be able to work, and they will be able to get out of your house and your basement. They'll move off like they're supposed to. I tell my wife all the time, they're supposed to move out. They're supposed to go. Birds, kick the little birds out of the nest. They're supposed to go. Okay, thank you. And hopefully they'll get off your phone bill.
Okay, so real quick, some housekeeping. Anybody check and double check your phones, make sure they're off for the courtesy of everybody in here and the panelists, and everybody's reaching for their pockets. Nobody came without a phone, I bet. Secondly, I want to thank our sponsors, Chesapeake College, Upper Shore Regional Council, for putting the event on. We also had 4 business sponsors, and we thank them for their efforts. At this time, what I'd like to do is introduce our guests. We have quite a few in here. I saw 2 of our delegates, Delegate Jay Jacobs from District 36, Delegate Steve Ahrens from District 36, and I believe Senator Hershey walked in. There he is back there. And is that Johnny Mouts? They said you'd be late. There he is, Johnny Mouts. Anybody else that I missed from the delegate or senator level? All right, so now what we're going to do is, since we have 5 counties we're representing here, what I'm going to do is have all the elected officials, whether you're Board of Ed, superintendents, or elected commissioners and or council, please stand up when I call your county. So we're going to start with Kent County. Anybody from Kent County here? Commissioners, Board of Ed, superintendents, please stand up. All right. How about Queen Anne's County? I know we got commissioners in here. There we go. All right. And Caroline County? I know, right there he is. All right. And Talbot County? And finally, Dorchester County. All right. So we're going to move forward with our keynote speaker, and Dr. Landgraf, I asked him to come here and speak tonight because a couple years ago here in Queen Anne's County we had an Economic Development Awards ceremony, and he was the keynote there. And his speech there really struck me because Dr. Landgraf comes from a 4-year university, and he spent the majority of the time speaking to our group about the importance of CTE and alternative career paths. And you don't really see somebody whose their job is to fill a 4-year university talking about that. So I thought it was great that he did that, and I think it's a great perspective to start out tonight to segue into what we're going to talk about going forward. So, Dr. Landgraf?
Hi, everybody. How are you? How are you? Oh, that's good. So the good news is I made that speech several years ago, and I still have my job at Washington College, which you're probably asking yourself, why would a president of a 4-year liberal arts and science college come to talk at a place where you're talking about providing an opportunity for young people to go to other kinds of institutions or to lead different kinds of paths? And the reason is actually quite straightforward for me. So let me just, if I might, just tell you a little bit about what I did before I became a college president. You heard the lieutenant governor tell you that I ran for lieutenant governor. I actually ran for governor of the state of Delaware. I lost. That was a joke. I lost. You would have known I would have won. But I also spent 30 years in the commercial world. My last job in the commercial world was as the president of the DuPont company in Wilmington, Delaware. So for most of my career, I was faced with the difficulty of recruiting and hiring. Remember, DuPont, at the time I was there a long time ago, had about 125,000 employees, most of which were in technical fields, manufacturing fields, and we had a heck of a time recruiting people. We had to do a lot of retraining of people when they came out of what I would describe as traditional educational environments. So let me spend just a few minutes saying to you what maybe perhaps some of you already know, that the world of higher education, post-high school, is changing dramatically. What seems to me, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, is that the group that seems to be least aware of the changes are people who run institutions of higher education. And sometimes it's almost stunning to me. I was telling Dr. Copperson I was giving a talk like this in Tennessee that has a very, very active college system, technical college system, where they work in a big-time way to make sure that students from high schools in Tennessee get choices about what to do, whether they want to go into apprenticeship programs or whether they want to go into 2-year institutions like this fine institution here, Chesapeake College, or whether they want to pursue 4-year, but they provide that opportunity. So let me just tell you what is actually happening in 4-year higher education institutions like Washington College. And just so you understand this, I love Washington College. I love being there. I love everything about it. I could spend my 15 minutes telling you what a fabulous place it is. But what I want to do is explain to you what's happening. Every week, at least 5, if not more, at least 5 institutions of higher education, colleges of liberal arts and science, colleges with 4-year programs, liquidate. They go bankrupt. There is not a week that goes by that I do not get a call from the president of an institution that is facing the probability of liquidation and asking if we will take their students in what's called a teach-out. Secondly, this last year, 82,000 fewer students graduated from high school than the year before. And the year before that, 57,000 fewer students graduated from high school. And in the year, I believe it's 2025, we were told, we're going to have a population boom decline. You're going to have an extraordinary dip in the number of young people in the age group 17, 18, 19. So what's happening in higher education? And so I made a prediction a long time ago, which is on YouTube. And when I interviewed for this job at Washington College, one of the faculty members found it and wanted to point out why I shouldn't be the president of Washington College, because I said this. I predicted, and I still predict, that 50%, 50, of 4-year institutions will be gone by the year 2020. They will liquidate, they will merge, they will do something other than provide what we think of as a 4-year traditional program in higher education. So that's the environment. So let me tell you why I wanted to come here and talk to you. It's my view that instead of living in a world of arrogance and disassociation, institutions like Washington College need to face our reality. And our reality is now that students who come to a place like Washington College are going to come from a variety of environments. We have an articulation agreement with Chesapeake College. We're very eager to get students from Chesapeake College to Washington College. We have articulation agreements with many of the community colleges here in the state of Maryland and in Delaware. But here's something we also know. If we're going to ask students to come to Washington College, and remember, it's Washington College of Liberal Arts and Science. So we're a traditional 4-year college, and I might also this is a little plug. So the only college in the United States that's actually entitled to be called Washington anything is ours. Okay, all the rest are frauds. Okay? Washington College was in fact started by George Washington. He lived in the house that I now live in. So we are the real Washington College. There are some other institutions that would not like to hear that. But we have a responsibility. And that's why I agree to come and talk to people about this. We've got to face our reality. And I urge you, all of you who are here, already have faced this reality. And I especially appreciate all the folks from all people in public service. I know what that's like. I know how hard it is to make the kind of decisions you have to make every day. But my view is actually quite simple, is we must recognize the world has changed. The story that the lieutenant governor told about the lawyer who became the electrician right? That is in fact, it's funny, but it's in fact reality. There aren't a whole lot of jobs for PhDs in anthropology. There are a lot of jobs for people who are well-trained technicians. So what we need to do, and what I know you're doing here tonight, is what we need to do is recognize that if wherever we are, whether it's looking at whether or not there ought to be a technical high school program, what people my age used to call vocational technical training, which was very, very, very much in vogue then, or whether we're in a technical two-year school, or if we're in a four-year school. And this is what Washington College has done, and I'm very proud of this, because our rankings have gone up in things like U.S. News and World Report, I think in large measure because of this. We now concentrate on internships. We concentrate on providing opportunities for our students to go in and work in places like Dixon Valve. You saw them out here, okay? Or in the state government. Or do things which are outside of the academic world as we know it. So our graduation rates are very high, our retention rates are very high, and here's the important thing if you're a parent. When you send your son or your daughter for education of any kind, although you may not say this when you drop them off, you're hoping that this is the beginning of the end of them being on your payroll. Right? I mean, you are. I know. I've got 5 kids. Now, I still have 3 or 4 on the payroll. I'm still working on that. But education is supposed to provide for people a pathway to a professional, rewarding, well-paying way to pay for your family, to be self-sustaining, and to contribute to society. What I'm telling you flat out, there is a role for wonderful places like Washington College. Anybody in here a graduate of Washington College? Okay, well, I'm just going to grant you an honorary doctorate. Congratulations. There's a role for places like Washington College. There, of course, is a role for places like the University of Maryland. But increasingly, folks, and I mean increasingly, the world and this country is beginning to recognize that it's just as important, and maybe in some cases more important, that we recognize the reality that our society is changing. What we require of future employees in our workforce is changing, and we have got to stop the arrogance. We've got to recognize that providing young people with the opportunity to learn the technological skills required for this economy is the most important thing we can do for the state and for this country, because these are the skills required for economic growth and economic development. So what I would conclude by saying is this. I love Washington College, and everyone when I talk to these prospective students, I highlight a couple of things. It's a wonderful place. You graduated from there, and now you have an honorary doctorate. Congratulations. Okay? It's a wonderful place, and we provide an outstanding liberal arts education. We have great faculty. We have great students. We have lots to offer. But I always tell the parents and students when they come, but I want you to know if you come here, we are going to concentrate not only on your 4 years here, but also on your future. We're going to make sure we're going to provide you with internships. Our Career Center, which we now have opened, provides opportunities, summer internships program, and we make sure that when you graduate, you either go to graduate school or we help you get a job. The other thing that I always say to parents, because as you know, when students come to look at a college, they sort of in the first 15 or 20 minutes know whether they want to come here or not. And it has less to do about what the academic curriculum looks like. You know, they look at the campus, they want to see like where the bars are, you know, that people are loath to admit, but they're looking for an environment where they're going to be happy, and that is okay, that's part of life. But what I want to say to you in closing is this. I love Washington College, but I also love the alternatives that are being provided by places like Chesapeake College, Dr. Congressman. This is important, and it's important to me as an American, and it should be important to you also, Because if we don't continue to drive our educational system away from what used to be the tradition and more toward the reality, our country is going to find itself in the next century, in the century coming up, without the ability to be productive and have economic growth. So I love it at Washington College. I love Chesapeake College. I love talking to community college people. I love talking to technical college people. I want us to do, I want to provide opportunities for everyone to take different paths. There are no specific ways to get to where you want to go. This conference that you're having here is an example of, if you don't mind me saying this to you, but I'm going to say it anyway, even if you mind. This is one of the, when I got invited to come here, I was really thrilled because I love seeing this. This is the non-arrogant approach. This is facing reality. This is a bunch of very, very bright people, and for those of you who are parents who care deeply about your children. I was excited about coming here to say to you, please keep your mind open. Please understand that there is no right or wrong way to do anything. There's only the way that is best for your son or daughter, and that technical education at every level is required for economic development and economic growth. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Now, let me close by saying, anybody who wants to come to Washington College, come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Landgraf. You want to sit down? So at this time, I'm going to call up our distinguished group of panelists. We feel like we've assembled through the process a group that brings a very diverse knowledge bank here to present tonight. This is going to be very informal. For those that know me in the audience, I'm not a stiff shirt. I like to just kind of roll with it. So I didn't want to see no structure with fancy tables and big black tablecloths. We wanted kind of the living room look, and that's about what we got here. So that's how this is going to be. It's going to look like a living room conversation. The format's going to be simple. We're going to go around. We have some information we want to get out, some points that we want to get made, and then we're going to open it up for question and answers. And if we have no questions and answers, which I actually hope we do have quite a few because we have our own questions, then we will go back because our panelists have plenty to say, but I've kind of put them on a bit of a stopwatch, but we'll see how that goes. So first up, we're going to have, as you've already heard, Dr. Coppersmith from right here at Chesapeake College. And then from the public school systems, representing the existing CTE programs, we have Adam Tolley from Queen Anne's County Public Schools. We have, representing Annapolis, District 36 Delegate Jeff Greist. The Supervisor of Career and Technology Education Enrichment from Washington County Public Schools, all the way from Washington County to come here and speak to us tonight, Mr. Cody Pine. The founder and president of Tanglewood Conservatories in Denton and president of the Untangled Mind Foundation, Alan Stein. And then we have Mr. Jeffrey Smith from the Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation. And finally, Chris Garvey, President and CEO of the Associated Builders and Contractors, Chesapeake Shores Chapter. And you gentlemen just want to grab those mics. We're going to pass them around. I think they told me to take, those there.
Well, I guess I'll kick this thing off.
You will.
Delegate Jeff Greist. I think a lot of you guys know who I am. I have a lot of conversations, especially with this topic. But I want to start off first by thanking the Queen Anne's County Chamber and the Upper Shore Regional Council for certainly putting this on. And Jack, thank you for sort of carrying the torch on this topic with CTE and our workforce development shortage that we have. And it seems like we're in a bigger crisis here on the Eastern Shore than we might be in other parts of the state. But maybe that's because we're living it. But this was a priority for me when I served as county commissioner in Caroline County. I served between 2006 and 2014, and at that time things were a little bit different in regards to the economy, and it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. One, the economy was in recession, so unemployment was at historic levels. Workforce or the labor participation rate was at a historic low, so it didn't makes sense when you had a bunch of people sitting home not working that we would have a workforce shortage. And so we looked at it, and the only real explanation we could come up with is that we just weren't doing a good enough job educating our young people to fill these positions. And most of the positions where we saw the workforce development shortage was in the technical trades at the time. And so we worked through the Midshore Regional Council at the time, and we've had some success. We brought Dr. Stuart Bounds with Chesapeake College together, along with the 5 superintendents at that time. And we tried to do something very similar to what we're doing now. We tried to build a regional tech school. The challenge that we had was that because it was a declining economy, and we knew as local elected officials that those revenues weren't going to start coming back until years after the economy ended up recovering, that wasn't the time to build a brick and mortar school. Now we fast forward 10 years, the economy's recovered, and now things are a lot different. Not just the economy, but sort of the attitude towards CTE. Right now, there's almost an arms race going on in Maryland in some of these counties. We have counties like Anne Arundel County. They have 2 great regional tech schools. Harford County has a great regional tech school. We visited Washington County. They have an amazing regional tech school that they've been open for 40 years. And they would love nothing more to be in a situation where we're in here right now, where we're going to start from scratch and build anything that we basically can build, we want to build, that really fits the needs of the businesses and in our community. So we're in a really good position right now. And also the attitude toward CTE is a lot different. I remember when I was in high school, that's where we usually sent the kids who were problem kids. That's where they send all the kids who weren't very smart, you know. Now, these were my friends. I graduated in 1993. Now, you know, fast forward to the present time, now when you call these guys, my friends who are saying, hey, you know what, I need somebody to come in and fix my electric, these guys remind me of that Toby Keith song, you know, how do you like me now, you know. And so, you know, as it turns out, my friends are buying yachts, and here I go to college and earn a bachelor's degree in economics. You know, I'm a state elected official, and these guys are much better off financially than I am. So there's certainly a lot of irony in there. So these kids weren't so stupid after all, were they? But what I can tell you, moving forward, as a state elected official, we have a lot of local elected officials here. We have a lot of board members here. We're stupid if we don't take advantage of an opportunity that we have right now to partner with 5 counties, all these different resources that we have, partner with a community college where we can't start this program soon enough. You'll hear from Dr. Coppersmith and their board members. We have an opportunity now where we can partner with those guys. We just built an allied nursing building just a few years ago. This is cutting edge. And to a certain extent, it's underutilized because we can have our high schoolers actually take nursing classes there. These guys have assets here on campus already that we don't have to build. So we're in a very, very unique opportunity to do some amazing things when it comes to tech ed, as long as we take advantage of it. So what we did last year, and Commissioner Wilson had mentioned this, we did have legislation, and that it was just an enabling legislation. It didn't mandate anything from our local boards of ed or any of our local governing bodies. And what it did is, I'll just read down the bullet points here because I don't want to take up a whole lot of time and I want to expand on it. So the bill was deliberately written broad and non-prescriptive, so that way it gave as much control as we can possibly give our local governments and our local school boards, because they're the experts, not us, when it comes to tech ed. It authorizes the counties and Chesapeake College to enter into an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, create a CTE school under certain conditions. And there were some things that the committee added, and a couple of good things they added in regards to amendments. And when the committee was finished with it, actually I was very pleased with how the bill ended up coming through the House of Delegates, which, by the way, was co-sponsored by Delegate Aronson Jacobs and Delegate Mounts, who are all here. And we're going to put the bill in again next year. Unfortunately, it didn't pass out of the Senate. The bill actually passed unanimously out of the House, 135 to nothing. It goes over to the Senate, and this is how much power they have in both the House and the Senate when it comes to committee chairs, is they can decide that the bill's not going to get voted on. And I'll mention his name, Senator Paul Pinsky of the Education Committee decided that he wasn't going to allow that subcommittee members to vote on this bill that passed out of the House unanimously. So we're going to put this thing in again this year, and hopefully we'll get it passed out of both houses. So anyway, what they did is, one of the things the committee did is they allowed really just 2 of the 5 counties in the Chesapeake College service area to enter into the MOU. It didn't require all 5, which is how we had written it, which is great, because not all counties may participate. And there's some things that we put in that we were trying to get. We wanted to have the state pay 100% of the school construction costs. We figured we'd ask. We knew that they were going to strike that. And also, too, we know that with some of the school districts, the challenges is, as many of you all know, every student is assigned based on a wealth formula and population of each county. Each student has a certain per pupil amount of funding that goes with that student in regards to operating costs for that school. And so some of the school districts were concerned that they're going to lose that per pupil funding. So part of this bill basically said is, we're going to count these students twice, one at their home school and also one at the regional school. So we knew they were going to strike that as well, and they did, but that's okay. And then, so they also added some other provisions in regards to governance, operation, financing, and things like that. So we're going to put the bill in again this year. We're going to do our very best to make sure that this bill gets passed. And again, we just want to create the groundwork, the framework to allow the 5 counties to come together and do some wonderful things.
Yeah, and like Jeff said, this is what they call in Annapolis enabling legislation. We fight all the time as individual counties to get local control, and the one thing this did was it allowed the control to move forward with any of these programs at the local level, which is where we as local officials want it. We don't want the state mandating what we do. So that was a very important part of the whole bill itself. This is kind of an outside-the-box thought process, what we're doing, and Delegate Grice didn't mention it, but the whole idea of making a regional approach where you take your local education associations and your elected officials and they sit down, they do something on a regional basis, really hasn't been done in Maryland at all. So this is kind of groundbreaking from that aspect, and things, just to give you an idea of other groundbreaking things, we have Alan Stein here from Untangled Minds. And Alan, if you could share what you've come across and what you've been doing with some outside-the-box type work with your program.
Sure. Well, so I represent businesses. I think I'm the only one on the stage who's actually from the business world. My wife and I started Tanglewood Conservatories located in Denton in Caroline County about 25 years ago. And when we first arrived here, we had an ample supply of labor. We build a very high-end product, and we require some very skilled workers. Over the years, we found it increasingly difficult to fill our labor needs. And I think our business has changed. We've become more technically oriented. However, we still have a very high skill level required. So probably 5 years ago, we approached the school system in Caroline County with the idea of helping them to turn their vocational technical program into something that would serve the community, serve the businesses a little bit better than it was doing. We formed a nonprofit 501c3 called the Untangled Minds Foundation, and we named it Untangled Minds because we recognize that success is in the way that you think, in the way that somebody thinks, and if you can train them or show them how to think in the right way, then success will follow. That it wasn't about so much technical training as it was what's sometimes called soft skills, what we call life success skills. Approximately 3 years ago, we started a program with the business community in Caroline County. Actually, outside of Caroline County, we've got businesses throughout the region who participate in a program that we named AMP, Advanced Manufacturing Professionals Program, that we run in conjunction with quite a few local businesses as well as the Caroline County school system, where we go into the school system, into their career technical training center, and actually provide training, both technical and life success skills. And that's been now entering into the second year and seen some real success.
Thank you, Alan. So we have we have Chris Carvey and Jeff Smith from Dollar. And what I'd like you to, Jeff, obviously you guys in the state have just rolled out the Youth Apprenticeship Program, which a lot of people here probably don't know about it. We have several members in the audience here that I saw earlier through the lights that are actually participating in it. Some of our local businesses here in Queen Anne's, I know Caroline has a couple businesses participating. I believe Talbot does. So it's starting to get some legs. But one of the things, we actually had an Economic Development Commission meeting today, and one of the conversations or topics was the youth apprenticeship. And it was, you know, I think people kind of have the misconception that once you sign up, you have to hire somebody. And I think that they have to get that out of it. To sign up as a business and become part of the youth apprenticeship program gives you the opportunity that if you want to take advantage of, if you want to expand on what the program is and how businesses can take advantage of it.
The state had actually started a youth apprenticeship pilot program in 2016-17, that school year. And we were very fortunate that we had two counties that applied to be the counties for the pilot period, one of them being Washington County, and they've been a wonderfully strong partner, as well as Frederick County. And the program is structured for high school juniors and seniors in school systems that participate to have the opportunity to work as youth apprentices with a participating business. That very first year we had 14 businesses in total, and we now statewide have over 120. We went from those first two pilot school systems to now 13 school systems statewide, and that includes Kent County, Queen Anne's County, Talbot, and Dorchester. The program gives the students the opportunity to be hired by a participating business. When a business agrees to participate, what they are saying is they're saying, I want the opportunity to have candidates come my way from the participating schools who would be interested in working at my business. So if I were the owner of ABC Electric Company and I signed up and I was participating with all four counties, let's say here on the shore, each of those counties would have the opportunity to send me applications from their interested students. I would then have the opportunity to review them just as I would any other hire. Let's say I have two positions and maybe 6 people collectively from the 4 counties expressed interest and I received applications from. I can elect to interview all 6, I can elect to interview some of them, and then do the exact same hiring process that would always happen for any position. So you're correct, Commissioner. What a business is committing to do is saying, I have positions that need to be filled, and I'm interested in seeing what types of students would be interested and would they be a good fit and good mesh with my business. The student then has the opportunity to work at that business for no fewer than 450 hours during the duration of the program. In reality, most students are well in excess of that 450. The students are making no less than minimum wage during that period of time. And connected with what they're doing at the business, they're actually receiving instruction related to that, technical instruction to support and enhance their capacity to work on the job. Many times that related instruction might come from their home public school system. It could conceivably come from a local community college. In some cases, it's provided in-house by individuals who do training for that particular business. It could also come from an online training resource. We've been very fortunate that the program is structured in a way that is very flexible. Each of our counties is able to structure it in order to reflect the realities that they see. We actually will go and work with those participating counties to recruit businesses that are active in their area. Obviously, you'll be seeing, in Washington County, Cody will be seeing certain businesses and industries that you might not see on the shore, and vice versa. There probably aren't a lot of marine trades in Washington County, but certainly we do have them here on the shore. So we're always looking for more businesses to participate. The program continually expands. Of those 13 school systems, we now have probably 3 or 4 others that are considering the model. So it's really structured in a way to combine learning and earning for the student while allowing the business the chance to grow their own future talent.
Thank you. Chris, you've been with the ABC for a couple of years now anyway. So you've seen the changes in the skilled trades. Myself coming from that background, 35 years, I've certainly seen the difference in the workforce quality and quantity. And I know you have all the figures in your head of where we're at in terms of being at a critical point in the country going forward, both for public and private sector building projects. We're at a situation now that we may not be able to come back from in 5 years. It may take 10 to 15 years to get back where we were 25, 30 years ago.
Thank you, Commissioner. Exactly right. For reference, for those of you who don't really understand what I do, my mom still doesn't understand what I do, by the way. Every time I see her, she's like, "Now tell me about your job." So I represent commercial and industrial builders and all of their interests, including their training needs. And I'm part of a national organization. To your direct point, I'm going to refer to a document here, so bear with me. There are currently 440,000 construction jobs available in this country. 440,000. And in the combined, the amalgamated, if you will, group of registered apprenticeship graduates we're producing in the country, it's 34,000 graduates a year for 440,000 jobs. Pretty staggering numbers. There's opportunities here in the Upper Shore, Mid and Upper Shore. The last statistic I saw is there was 5 jobs available in the construction industry for every 1 CTE completer. Staggering numbers. And what we're seeing is that we're seeing less and less students get interested and engaged in entering the skilled trades opportunities. We need to change that paradigm. We need to change that discussion, and I believe that's one of the reasons why we're all here. I'd also like to point out one additional thing. You heard Delegate Grice talking about the process of a bill. I'm old enough to remember there was a bill on Capitol Hill. Remember that? Right? You probably remember that, Delegate Ahrens, right? If you're not comfortable reaching out to your elected officials, or you've never done it, I would encourage you to do it if this is something you support and something you believe in. Call your elected officials. Call Delegate Grice and say, who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to write to? That's the way stuff gets pushed through. You heard that this bill got stuck in a committee from a chairman. That's how it works in Annapolis. But when they hear from us, bills start moving. I'll be the first person to call when the bill gets reintroduced. So thank you for that reminder. And I went way off task. Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. So just as a reminder, your little pamphlet you all got, this is the first shameless plug for it, but because I'm going to tell you at least 3 more times tonight. On the back, you can sign up at the website on the back, and you will get updates on the bill number, process as it's going forward, and if there's any kind of call to actions that we see necessary to get the bill through. So take the time when you leave here tonight or tomorrow or whatever, and please go on there and sign up. All right, so now we're going to move forward. So what was the genesis of thinking we could even do a regional tech center here in the last 15 months? And Jeff was the one that brought it up to. He had been to Washington County and taken a tour of their facility out there. So he came back and he called me up and he said, "You really need to go out there and see this place if you want to see what could be done." So the Chamber of Commerce, Linda Friday, put together a tour with our superintendents were invited from the counties, and we had several attend, and we all went out there, and we took the tour from top to bottom, inside, outside, and I will tell you it was one of the most phenomenal experiences I've ever witnessed in a high school atmosphere. Just the level of professionalism. The kids actually conducted the tour. They cooked our lunch. I think they would have built us something if we'd have stayed long enough, but it was great. I came back, and then that was basically the genesis of, well, we need to figure out how do we do this. And I'll tell you, where we really boiled it down and realized the regional approach worked is we started looking at the numbers. And I brought them tonight because I, unlike Chris Garvey, cannot remember all those facts and figures. So the population of Washington County sits at 150,926. The combined population of our 5-county region is 171,904. The Washington County High School Tech Center is fed by 8 feeder high schools. We have 9 high schools in our 5-county region, so very similar numbers. The number of students was the last number, and the combined number for our 5 counties is 23,870, and Washington County student population is 21,980. So you can see why, looking at this program, the demographics and all kind of really made things click. So Cody, could you just tell everybody, you've been doing this for 47 years up there in Washington County. That's 47 years this has been there, so tell us how you did it.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. First off, I'd like to recognize Steve Garland. Raise your hand, Steve, and Wendy Moore. They're the boots on the ground, so I wanted to recognize them tonight for doing their work. So when we were first asked to come down here, we wanted to, what can we contribute? And after hearing what's going on here, you guys are doing it right. You have your community college involved. You have your local stakeholders involved. You have the students involved. You have the parents involved. I mean, you have the ability to start fresh. I mean, you can build your campus on the community college land, near the community college, wherever it needs to be close, because there's going to be MOUs signed between the tech school and your community college, which is in existence for Washington County, our partners, Hagerstown Community College, whereas we have students go through our technical high school and programs. They leave our program, they graduate with the CTE completer, and then they go over to that program for a semester, maybe 2, and have their associate's degree. Those MOUs will exist. So you guys are doing everything exactly right. I'm very, very hopeful for you. To tell you a little bit about Washington County, I personally have been there for 47 years, but what the process started like, and I wish we could go back, and I had the ability to wipe the slate clean and start anew. I may look at a 9 to 12 model. I may look at building the technical high school again close to the community, and I reiterate that because I think that would be important. But for us in Washington County, the way we operate, we have just over 600, we have about 615 students in a junior-senior program. They go back at A day, B day. They get transported from their local schools to the tech center and then back, which means they still belong to the school, their home school that they come from. They can still participate in band there, still participate in athletics there, which is it's a benefit for the kids. Those kids, and some of you educators out there, well, what about the test score? Well, everything that comes with that student, the data gets reported to that home school until they come to the tech center, then that data stays with the tech center. We have 17 programs currently, and I'm very, 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 very proud to say, and I encourage you to build your, and I know Adam will do this, he is doing this and has done this. When you build a program, like, you need the business people. You need to hear what jobs are available. You need to project what jobs are going to be available. You can't just think what's the immediate need. You have to look long term. What's going to be available? I mean, we're launching an artificial intelligence cloud computing program next year. We're launching an advanced manufacturing program, which I've seen you had banners of these things outside, and I saw it on your presentation. Good for you. Kudos. We need to be forward thinking. But we also can't forget, we need plumbers. We need electricians. We have the Student Trades Foundation, which is a 501c3. And it's comprised of a group of business people, and we work in conjunction with the Associated Builders and Contractors, whom we also have an MOU with. And we build a house a year, and we sell that house. Well, the Student Trades Foundation sells the house, but our kids build it with in-kind donations from local businesses, advice, and support. We have many dealership. We have collision repair. We have auto body. And we have auto technicians. So we get cars donated, we fix them up, we paint them, all those things, we sell them. We sold 33 cars last year. We have dealers like kids go through the entrepreneurial business. Career technology education is back, and it's here. It's not. Is it vocational? Maybe a little bit, but we dare not call it vocational because it's academic. How many electricians do you want that can't read a code book and be academic enough to install circuitry that meet the code that the county mandates that? We install fire suppression. I mean, every program has a value added, and that value added is either a dual transcripted credit, which means it's MOU with the community college, and either our instructor's an adjunct or that student takes the class rate at the community college. We get articulated credits with many partners, including the community college. And then we have industry certification and stackable credentials. We talked when you visited, we have a computer game design and animation class, and we have collision repair. So the collision repair teacher comes to us and he's like, hey, went to this awesome show, saw this $100,000 paint gun simulator that I want you to buy me. I'm sorry, because, money's tight. But I went across the hallway to the computer gaming design and animation teacher. I said, hey, can you guys, I had to dangle the carrot. I had to buy him the 3D visual simulator and the hardware to run it. But I dangled that carrot. I said, can your kids build this? They did. And it works. It's a 3D thing, and they paint the car. And so now I'm not spending money on paint because these kids are doing it virtually. CTE is back. And I'm telling you, it's time to invest in it. It's an academic route. It's a technical route. Kids building houses are academic. CTE is not a dumping ground. It's the next step for high-paying jobs right out the door. So, I probably spoke too long. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, the passion comes through. That's very good. Very good. So, you spoke about the programs. You have 17 programs,
17
right?
programs. We do.
So what we did when our group got together and we started talking to the businesses, we did a bit of took a look at the different programs and the shortages in the business community out there, and we developed actually 21. And I'm going to read them off here because most of you are going to know every single one of these. You've probably used one of these services within the last 5 days. Electrical, HVAC, plumbing, automotive technology, carpentry, welding, agricultural science, advanced manufacturing, cosmetology, culinary arts, education, firefighter EMT, health professional, biomedical, homeland security, cybersecurity, criminology and forensics, hospitality, marine trades, interactive media professionals, broadcast communications, and business management and finance. And every single one of those was on a target sheet for where we need people to fill jobs. So, like I said, I bet everybody in this room can raise their hand. You've come in contact with somebody that's worked in one of those fields in the last 5 days. And that's, yes, Chris, you raising your hand? Okay. And you can listen, see? It's good. So where are we today? We're not that bad off. We're not. But one of the reasons we're looking at this from a regional approach, and the school boards and the school superintendents, thank you, they provided the information, and they do a great job with what they're given within the CTE field, and Adam and the likes of Adam in the school systems do a great job. But one of the things we looked at is, I just read you 21 programs. Unfortunately, our small counties cannot provide 21 separate programs. We don't have the critical numbers to fill those programs, first off, nor do we have the money for the supplies, the teachers, and everything else that may be needed to advance some of those programs. So that's where the whole concept of a regional program kind of comes from, in the fact that if we use all of our existing assets and we pool our resources, then maybe we can provide these 21 different programs and we can fill those classes and create those the workforce that's needed in those jobs. And Adam's here with Dr. Coppersmith to basically speak to what we have going on now, the challenges, the struggles that we see in terms of whether it's through, and I was in a meeting with you with the Perkins grants and things like that, and Dr. Coppersmith, you're very familiar with those, and some of the things that you guys are doing now between the college and the school systems, and some of the things, the interaction that's actually going on now that kind of lends itself to be what we're talking about almost.
Absolutely. So I'll start off regarding some of the challenges that exist, with CTE today. And, Cody mentioned that CTE is back, and I definitely agree. We went through a phase many years ago where the pendulum swung in this nation, where the message was that every student has to go to college. And we, excuse me, as a nation, really, I think, did a disservice to broadcast that message. And I think we still, even though the pendulum is swinging back in our direction now, we are still overcoming the stigma of vocational ed that Delegate Rice mentioned, that it is just for certain students, and it's a terminal pathway. That's where you go. There's no clear end, and we definitely need to change that message. And it's events like this that really bring that to light, where we bring that message to the business community, to parents that that really know that that's not what CTE is. CTE is highly academic, highly rigorous opportunities that exist for our students, and the students that go through our programs in Queen Anne's County and on the Eastern Shore and through the state of Maryland are coming out with skills and credentials that other students don't have, and so we still need to overcome that challenge and kind of bring that to light, to all parents, to students, and to educators, to let everybody know that CTE has wonderful potential. We have wonderful students coming out, and the opportunities that exist are endless. And I'll let Dr. Coppersmith talk about some of the initiatives that we have undertaken.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say thank you for our local political leadership and the individuals up on our stage, our lieutenant governor and our superintendents. And I've had a number of conversations with all our good friends and supporters of Chesapeake College and the folks that we work with in the public ed system in terms of CTE education. This is part of a national wave. I've spent my last 20 years of professional higher education in institutions like Chesapeake College. I've worked now in 3 states, including Pennsylvania, Montana, and now Maryland, and the dialogue is the same. We have a demand for these skilled trades and skilled professions, a number of which we haven't even talked about, which including healthcare, which I have to say as a college we're in pretty good shape there because of the investment that this community made in our HPAC facility. But we still have some work to do in our skilled trade professions, including the old-fashioned, I call them iron trades, like plumbing and HVAC and electrical, construction technology, but also other ones like the marine trades, which we have just begun, and we see a lot of promise there. We're currently in a level of cooperation across our 5 counties already, so we already have what I'd call a nascent virtual approach to a regional approach to CTE at the high school level and what we call applied technology at the college level in terms of trying to respond to the demand for these skilled trades and skilled professions in the communities we serve. Currently we have programs in agriculture, business and marketing, computer information systems, criminal justice, drafting and design, early childhood education, electrical non-credit, HVAC non-credit, and of course marine services and welding and fabrication technology. Those are the programs we currently have in place, both non-credit and for credit, that we're currently working with anywhere from 2 to all of our counties in terms of providing articulation, which means that high school students bring coursework to us that we can add to and enhance at the college level, or dual enrollment, where we're actually trying to provide college credit for the work students are doing in their high school programs. We're working with Talbot, in which they send their welding students to us because Talbot does not have a welding laboratory. So there's a very high level of cooperation already trying to solve some aspects of this problem. And as a president, I was hired to do more of this. And I'm absolutely dedicated to that premise, as are many of the community college presidents now working throughout the state of Maryland to provide more opportunities for our students, and the opportunities are extraordinary. In many of the professions that you and I take for granted, the opportunity for income and long-term career progression for our students is extraordinary. It is not impossible for students in all of these areas, particularly if they go into business for themselves, which is the highest end of where they can go within 6 or 7 years of entering these professions. They can be making 6-digit incomes in everything from automotive technology to the marine trades. The income potential and the potential for having a good life right here on the Eastern Shore is fantastic. One of the most positive things that's in development right now is a whole program of apprenticeship, and we've really moved the needle just recently. We have students right here in the front row that are involved in that project right now, and we have some extraordinary support with our business partners, particularly Rob Marsh, who's kind of leading that charge. He has, I think, 4 or 5 apprentices now from the region, and they're doing really interesting stuff, which is very attractive to our young people. They want to do things that are exciting, they want to do things that are interesting, and obviously I think even in some cases they're thinking about a career. But those opportunities are here, and we are all about trying to expand those opportunities and make them aware to our students and our parents out there, as well as our industry and business community.
So can you talk a little bit about the how you see the dual enrollment? Because for years, kids have been able to get dual enrollment in terms of, I'm sorry, I can be loud enough. In terms of dual enrollment at the high school level, it was typically for college academic courses, but we've had this conversation where dual enrollment can be expanded into these CTE programs so that kids are earning college credits for these CTE programs while they're going to high school as well, correct?
That's correct. And in my experience, there's two types of courses we're talking about here. The program courses actually in disciplines. So that would be the electrical courses or the plumbing courses. But then there's the general ed courses that are required particularly for one-year certificates and two-year associate degrees, which is the English communications classes, and then what we call technical algebra, technical mathematics, which is also part of that program if a student's enrolled in a two-year associate degree, for example. And those are important courses. A plumber's got to know their geometry. A construction technology person's got to know their geometry. Whether you're a healthcare professional or you're working in heavy equipment, you have to know your mensuration. You need to know weight limits on highways. You need to know how high bridges are if you're transporting heavy equipment on a trailer in the back of a truck. One of my favorite math classes I once participated in was a math teacher showing when you get the measurement wrong what happens to an excavator when it hits a bridge overpass. That's a real problem. Those are vital things that are a part of these professions. Students have to know their math. Nurses have to know dosing for medication applications. Again, a very environment where if the wrong thing is done or the wrong measurements made, bad things happen. So those are the general education pieces that we can provide for our students in their high school setting, along with their program courses, whether they're in a terminal program, which they're going to go right to work after high school, or they're going to transfer and upgrade their skills at the college.
Sure. We're very blessed, and I have to give all the credit to our superintendent, Dr. Boyd Michael. But in Washington County, the way we do work with our community college, we have an MOU signed, of course, and we have articulated credits that fall in the MOU, and we have this track we call the alignment track, where we have our programs aligned with the community college. And what it looks like is if we have students that are in the IT program, the Cisco networking program, for example, and if they're taking a network class and they're getting like an AA plus certification, they get credit at the community college for a class or two. If in fact we're teaching a Homeland Security or criminal justice class that our college offers, we send our instructors over and they become adjunct professors for the community college. They teach on our campus to our students that same college class, and they get that credit if they pay the reduced tuition. So they're walking out the door. Some kids are walking out the door 15, 18 credits. That's huge. And that's a dual transcripted credit, which means it's not an articulated credit. They've already earned those credits. So that on their transcript, they have those, and they take them with them. We also have an MOU with the Associated Builders and Contractors. We teach their curriculum. We teach NCCER, and our kids are getting their core curriculum, which is the safety, the basic safety and intro to safety things out of the way, but they're getting their carpenter level 1 and level 2. They're getting their electrical level 1, level 2. They're getting their plumbing 1 and 2. And then on the apprenticeship side, our kids are, I'm very proud to say, the majority of our programs, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 99% of our kids at the technical high school leave the school with the plan in mind. Their placement rates, we work with them, we counsel them. They're going to work. All of our electrical kids are hired. I mean, they're hired within the fall of their senior year. They already have a placement lined up, apprenticeship lined up. We piloted the apprenticeship program. Jeff's like, hey, grab the low-hanging fruit. You've already got kids going out and work-based learning. Let's turn that into earn while you learn and make those kids apprentices. So Wendy and Steve worked with their companies we already partner with anyway. Those kids are apprentices. Now they're getting apprenticeshipable hours. And they're making money. And they're going to school. And they're getting credentials. It's a win, 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 win. I mean, the parents, they're ready to boot them out the door a little sooner, because these kids are starting to earn and learn. So it's very important to create those partnerships with everyone.
And with Grant or Chris, from your background, what's the average debt at the end of a 4-year apprenticeship?
Excellent. So the question is, what's the debt at the end of apprenticeship programs? And the fact is, there's no debt. Very interesting to hear our friends from Washington County and how that works. A typical registered apprenticeship program in my world is a 4-year program where the students are working during the day and going to school at night, getting related instruction perhaps at a community college partner, and getting lab experience at a related community college partner. That's where this building we're talking about can come into real play. It's a 4-year program. It's 8,000 on-the-job hours that have to be documented with your employer. It's 576 hours of classroom time that have to be documented. You're allowed 2 absences a year. 2. And I see these young people down here, and I love seeing you down here, and I know that you're getting a piece of that right now, I'm sure. So there's a lot of accountability, but when you're done, you've got a job, you're making great money, you've got the best truck and the best boat of all of your friends. You're not in debt. You probably are about to start thinking about buying a house as a 22 to 23-year-old. These programs are available to everybody. It doesn't matter what your race is, what your creed is, how you identify. It's available for everybody. And these opportunities are where we can take this to the next level, and I believe that the Upper Shore can follow this Washington County model and absolutely crank this up.
Thank you. So, Adam, when you look at this from a regional approach, and you've pretty much dealt with all the systems here, what kind of hurdles do you see facing to push forward with a regional program like that, or like we're talking about here?
Sure. So, we work collectively. My counterparts, the CTE directors from the other 4 counties, have been working, and we work collectively with Chesapeake College. So we have, kind of started on that pathway as far as a regional approach. But as far as, a centralized center, we're as educators always concerned about, maximizing the educational day for our students. So transportation, I think, is an issue. And just having a conversation, just the transportation time from their home facility, home school, to a regional facility is a concern. And like I said, we want to try to maximize their school day, the 6 and 7 hours that they spend with us, to maximize that. So I think that's maybe a concern. Yes.
Transportation. Obviously, we're a big area geographically, so that does become a problem, and I think we've brought that up. Real quick, Jeff, so I sit on the Maryland State Electrical Board, and one of the things that we've talked about in ways because to become a master electrician here in the state, because there is no state licensing for a regular electrician, it takes 7 years. So one of the things we've talked about to encourage some of this is, you get, if you were to do a program in high school for 2 years, that you should receive credit towards your licensure with that. Is that something you think going forward to help some of these, especially the licensure programs that we're talking about, whether it's HVAC or electrical? Do you think there would be, Dollar would be open to allowing that to go forward to where these kids would also be learning licensure credit?
The portion of that's actually in a different division where I work at the Department of Labor. However, I do know that everyone is well aware of some of the regulatory challenges that we face for many of our building trades. And I know it's been something that we've been focused on trying to minimize the lag time, if you will, of when someone is actually in the apprenticeship. Perfect example, we actually looked at our statistics for our existing registered apprentices, and we wanted to see, well, how many of them are in the 18 to 20 age group? It's a very, very small number, unfortunately. The average starting age for our apprentices tends to be around 24, 25, which begs the question, what have these individuals been doing from when they were 18 to when they were 24 or so? So we've been looking at ways to make much more robust connections between school to apprenticeship. The youth apprenticeship program we have in the state is one component of that. There are others. A number of the ABC chapters actually are doing school to apprenticeship, where they have those articulation agreements in place, where the student is getting what is the Associated Builders and Contractors curriculum delivered at their home high school, while they are getting as many hours as they can reasonably work while being a student. Obviously, they're not going to get those 2,000 hours a year, but they are going to be able to get some. And the theory being behind that is to minimize that lag time. We were approached by Prince George's County Public Schools. They recognized a couple of things were going on. They recognized, gee, we have all these wonderful CTE programs, we have our graduates, and where do they go? They end up leaving Prince George's County to go somewhere else. Now, I know that's something, I grew up in a rural county, and oftentimes in a rural county, people feel the need in their mind to grow up and be something. The opportunities are somewhere else. Well, the irony is, here's Prince George's County, a Washington, D.C. suburb, and they're hearing the same thing. Their students feel they need to go somewhere else. So the school system said, we have that challenge. We want to keep more of our Prince George's County high school students, graduates here in our county. And by the way, they realized, we have all these facilities maintenance positions for our school system to maintain our school buildings we can't fill. So what did Prince George's County do? They created a registered apprenticeship program in partnership with their local union, because it's a union facility, to be able to have where juniors and seniors can come in, start as they're registered as juniors, as apprentices. They're getting the curriculum that they need while they're in school from the high school, from the Prince George's County Public School System. And they're working part-time as much as they can as a apprentice for their facilities maintenance unit. When they graduate Prince George's County schools, then they immediately are going full-time, same place they've been working for 2 years part-time, and then they shift, and their related instruction from that point on, as their years 3 and 4, is coming from Prince George's County Community College. So what does that do? All of a sudden, it eliminates that dead time, for lack of a better term, of what did my son Alex do from age 18 to age 24. Now you can cut that off, and the sooner a student is getting into a trade or an apprenticeship or full-time employment, the sooner they're maximizing their earning potential, because obviously that's part of what being in a career is about. But it's not just about the financial satisfaction. It's about knowing that you're doing something that has value, you're doing something that is appreciated by others, and you're being compensated for it, allowing yourself to have an independent life. So collectively, we're looking at any way we can to cut down barriers to make sure that our high school graduates have multiple options in front of them that will lead to financially stable and family-supporting wages for them and their families, future families.
So, and that's an interesting perspective, and we do the same thing. We have our students earning hours while they're working because we teach the associated builder and contractors curriculum. We too, in fact, as a system, are hiring apprentices, youth apprentices that are going to work through, and then they're going in the evening to the Bar Institute in Hagerstown to finish with the associated builders and contractors to be apprentices for us, because we need plumbers and electricians as a school system as well. But on another facet, we have at our technical high school a salon for our cosmetology kids, and that salon serves the public, and it's open 4 days a week. 3-4 days a week, whatever, to get those kids what they need 1,000 hours for their licensure, so they get their state licensure at the end of the program because they service a salon and cut the hair of the community and have clients learn entrepreneurial skills while still in school. So that second year student at the program is becoming licensed. So at the end of the program, again, attendance is everything. You can't miss any time, because we only have a limited amount of time. But if you complete that program, and we have a 100% pass rate on that, and on that licensure, I'm very proud of that.
So the point about the homegrown workforce, I think that's one of the stimuluses for a lot of these regional tech programs, is that, that exodus from the counties. And I'm kind of surprised by the PG County story. I know here on the shore we struggle with that. Queen Anne's County does for sure. So I think that kind of lends itself to one of the other pieces of this puzzle that through our research and our group talk for the last year has been that it really takes a combination and a communication between the business community and education working together to both identify what are those jobs in the future that we need to be educating our kids for. And I think we're embarking on, for those that don't know about it, we're about to change the way education is done in the state of Maryland. The Kerwin Commission, and I don't know the whole Innovation on X and whatever, it's Kerwin Commission. They're looking at a lot of different ways to improve education. And two of the big ones that are out there is pre-kindergarten and bolstering our CTE program. So I think going down this path right now, we're at the right time, because this is going to be an opportunity to come forward, speak as a group, and say, okay, this is how we would like to structure this so that we can make our CTE program stronger, number one. But I think that's going to take the buy-in of our business community as a whole in the region, because as a region we have a lot of the same business needs, and I think we need to build on that and have the businesses be talking to our educators through the CTE program or collaboratively, however that's going to work, or what it's going to look like, so that we are creating our homegrown workforce and we're continuing to perpetuate that workforce year over year. Delegate Grace, going back to you. So your original intent in this bill, because I know there was some concerns initially, was not to supplant any of the existing programs, but to more enhance and add to them through the regional program. And I think that's why the whole two-county approach, when it came back, you were a little bit more probably happy when that came back, because having 5 counties want to jump in all at once was probably going to be very difficult, but having 2 counties to start it and then perpetuate it and have counties come on board if they want to, or if they see the need, or if there's programs available that they can't provide, to allow their students to partake in them. I think that was a lot of the background with that, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And really the intent with a regional school is one, we want to fill those gaps in the workforce shortage that we're experiencing now. And the challenge that we have with each county sort of doing their own program, and they're doing a great job in many cases, and what they're doing now is they're actually sending kids across the county lines if a separate county has a program that they don't have in that home county, or if the student is requesting to go. So, for example, Talbot County, they did a great job with auto mechanics. And so we're sending kids from Caroline into Talbot County. We're great. We have an awesome cosmetology program who does very similar to what Washington County is open to the public, and they and so it's an awesome program. So Queen Anne's and Talbot, they're sending kids here. So logistically, we have a regional approach, but we just don't have a single school. And the whole idea behind what we're trying to accomplish here is that, especially, we want kids who are going to be interested in the programming, first of all, who are going to be determined and ambitious and anxious, and they want to get into that career. And so we want to create a situation much like Washington County, where these kids have to qualify to get in there. 2, they can get kicked out at any time if they don't go to class, if they don't qualify academically. And so what we want to do is create a regional school that the business community can rely on. And also one where our middle schoolers and our elementary school kids are like, you know what? There's a school at Chesapeake College. I can get away, that you were talking about. I can get away from home. 20 minutes away, it's not very far, but I can get away and actually learn a skill at a prestigious school that's state-of-the-art, that's cutting edge, that's at least competitive with Anne Arundel County, that it's at least competitive with Harford County, that's at least competitive with Washington County. Because right now we have a few programs in some of our counties and some of our school systems that are prestigious. To be quite honest, I didn't know we had a couple of programs in my home county until I went down the list with our school superintendent. So my point is that if we can regionalize this approach and we can create a situation where this school will not have a problem with recruiting the best teachers that are out there, because the best teachers are going to want to teach here. They're not going to want to teach in a different county because we have a cutting-edge facility. We have the best allied nursing center in the state of Maryland that they're going to teach in. Those are the sorts of things. That's the environment that we want to create here in Caroline, or here on the Midshore for 5 different counties. But at the same time, we don't want to create a situation where we want to take away any local autonomy. If some of our school systems feel very comfortable with producing a great product, and some do. Talbot County invested a ton of money in our auto mechanics program. They did. And they may not want to send their kids here because they may actually have a better program in Talbot County than we can create here at Chesapeake College. So we want to create a situation where they can choose and pick and choose what programs they want to send their students to. But we also want to create a situation, too, where we don't want to shortchange any student. If you live in Kent County and they don't offer programs there, we want to make sure that they can hop on a bus at Kent County High School and they can come every single morning, they can come to Chesapeake College and learn a skill, and then they can go back home at night and still be able to attend their sporting events and be part of a team there in Wharton. So that's the whole idea behind this. And I also want to acknowledge, too, that Senator Addie Eckert is here as well. And one more thing, if I can just add very quickly. It's one of the things that we're going to do, hopefully. There's two paths to get bills passed. And I spoke with a lot of delegates who were on that committee that the bill went through, HGO, and I spoke with some of the members of the subcommittee, and they were completely on board. They were just as excited about this bill as I was, and because they live and breathe that stuff. Education is what their subject matter really is. And so I knew I wasn't going to have a hard time getting this bill passed out of the House. I had no idea it was going to get stuck in the Senate. So there's two options. One, you can introduce it in one house or the other. Then what happens after a certain date, that bill crosses over into the other side, and then the Senate would vote on the House bill. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to have our senators actually cross-file the bill on the Senate side. So while we're going to get a bill passed on the House, simultaneously they're going to be trying to get that Senate bill passed at the same time. And hopefully those versions are going to match on both sides. It's not going to be amended a whole lot. And then hopefully that bill will get passed at that point, because I can tell you our senators, both of them are outstanding. They've done a great job building those relationships with the senators and who they work with over there. And I'm confident that if we had those guys cross-file the bills last year, either Senator Eckert or Senator Hershey, that bill would have gotten passed likely, I think.
Well, that's why we're here tonight, to figure out what we did wrong last year and move forward and make it right, right? So we wanted to make sure we left enough time if anybody had any questions. We have two gentlemen down here that have microphones. If anybody has a question, please raise your hand. For any of the panelists, we have our own questions in terms of some of the stuff, but that's why we want to be able to have the ability to sit down, whether it's transportation. Got one right back there. If you could just state your name and where you're from.
My name is Kathy Diotis. I'm from Queen Anne's County, and this is very exciting, and I'm very proud to be here and be a part of this. For the parents and students that are here, is it possible for us to make this a little bit more relatable, a little down level to them, to figure out some of our students here are part of this program? I know Chris has spoken very highly of the success of the ABC programs. I know Adam has success stories. I know some of this is a little lofty about legislation and so forth, but necessary. But would any of you gentlemen be willing to give us
want to talk about
your story?
There's only a couple people in here, so
don't be
nervous.
If I could ask, but to set that up, if I could ask Dr. Coppersmith to perhaps tell us how the Marine Trades program came about here at Chesapeake College.
Sure, I'll be very brief. First of all, the Marine Trades program is a classic success about partnership between the college, our business partners, in particular Rob Marsh. Even the Coast Guard got involved, providing us a technician to actually teach the course. We had support from the Yamaha Corporation for curriculum. Rob Marsh actually provided a donation of tools that were essential for us to be able to actually set up the lab. And then we had donations of outboard engines that the students are actually working on. We actually had our own welding students create the stands that the outboard engines are actually mounted on, so the students could work on them. And that came about because of our leadership of our Tom Ellis, who's our director of trades here at Chesapeake College, reaching out, figuring out what the needs were with our industry and business partners, and then a whole team putting together a package to actually get students in a class. I think our first offering was last April. It was full. We offered 2 other sections over the summer that were full. And much to our very pleasant surprise, most of the students that enrolled were currently in the industry. I was worried that we would primarily get weekend warriors, which is great, but those aren't the folks that are going to go work for Rob Marsh and many of our other marine trades outfits where the need is very dire for those kinds of technicians. We actually had employees who came to upgrade their skills. So that's, and I also want to put a plug in, and we've really focused on that high school population, but we also want to be prepared for our adult population that wants to come and upgrade their skills or transition to a new profession, and that's something that Chesapeake College is very involved with, because we do everything from adult basic education with the the GED program to get students to that college level of instruction they need to be at with their high school degrees so they can get into some of these great fields. So did I get lost? I think you want to talk about marine trades, and so what we've done with that, we have determined that in addition to the technology of engines, We're looking at diesel. We're looking at marine and wood construction and electronics. And so I think down the road, we're hoping in the next couple of years to have a whole certificate that would provide the comprehensive knowledge and skills that someone would need to go into that business, whether they're going to go into the repair business, whether they're going to work in a supply shop or work for a manufacturer.
I got a question out here.
Name is Ann Johnson, Queen Anne's County. I have two questions. What's the number of the bill that didn't pass?
513. House Bill 513 last year. And we'll make sure that if you all register on this website that the newly assigned bills, both in the House and the Senate, you'll know everything about them. And hopefully you will come out and certainly testify in favor of those bills.
Okay, thank you. And also, you talked about diversity. Do you have partnerships to help people with developmental disabilities?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so we have actually partnered this year, worked closely in Queen Anne's County with our secondary coordinator for disabilities and helping to establish some opportunities for students with disabilities. We actually held, our secondary transition coordinator held, with cooperation with the 5 counties, a regional job fair this year that focused on opportunities for CTE, and so we hope to expand upon that job fair again this year, but it was participation from the 5 counties.
That's great, thank you. And tomorrow night is something with doors and the Arc of Maryland here at Chesapeake College, so I don't know if anybody can come and talk to anybody there, because that's pretty important. We have a very difficult time getting our students jobs, especially now that they're not allowing them to pay people with disabilities below minimum wage. So thank you very much.
In Washington County, at the technical high school, we have it's called the transition program, isn't it? We have a transition program, and we have special needs students in that, and some are life skills students. And Steve, Wendy, and I sit on every round table, manufacturing, hospitality, tourism, you name it, we sit on it. We're on every economic development committee. We're on every chamber. We're on the chamber, board. We attend everything. We do everything. Those kids get this opportunity to go out into the businesses, and some do get hired. Some do have a mentor, and I'm sure, Adam, you have the same type of program, same thing. So there are opportunities available for life skills kids and kids with special needs.
Yeah, this is Eric Lemon with Dixon Valve and Coupling, and we're one of the sponsors here. There were some things mentioned, and I appreciate the comment in the front row talking about bringing it down a little bit to not only for a parent level, but even for a student level. I know in our organization today, we have a computer numerical control apprenticeship. I happen to manage that apprenticeship, and that apprenticeship was the first apprenticeship in the state of Maryland to be a competency-based apprenticeship. And where that differs from the traditional apprenticeship is that it's a 2-year program as opposed to a 4-year, 8,000-hour program, which was the way that we did it at Dixon for several years. What we found was that even using the traditional approach, the consistency of the talent needed to do the job at the CNCs was sporadic at best. And so what the competency does, there's still rigor in it, right? Because there's an instructional component, but it's run concordantly with the skills needed directly at the job. So what do I mean by all that fancy talk? It means what the business needs, and the business is dictating what it needs from a talent perspective, as opposed to doing mostly rigorous classroom work that doesn't always translate to on-the-skilled job needed to be productive, okay? And so we're in the process of that. We're about to graduate 5 apprentices from this apprenticeship, and these are all very highly skilled individuals who are about to graduate this program. And so it's just another option. It's another way of looking at education. Yes, there's an instructional component. Mostly what we have in-house training, but we use Tooling U as well for some of our instructional related pieces and components. But then again, too, they're going to run concordantly, which means you're going to take a class or a series of classes, and then you're going to go down on the shop floor with an on-the-job trainer, and you're going to demonstrate competency, which will have a repetition component and an error metric. The error metric may be you can get it wrong once, you may not be able to get it wrong at all, but that's dictated at the business level, right? And that's what I think, again, you guys had mentioned up there on the platform about some of the gaps in between, maybe the certification or the education component and the actual workforce component. And I feel like something like competency-based answers some of those things.
I'm getting all the action over here, Rob.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can wait for you too. Good evening. Debbie Bowden, Caroline County Economic Development. And following on that comment, I'd like to ask Alan to talk a little bit about and share how you came about to put into curriculum, into a school system, the soft skills that you talked about. Because as I talk to businesses in the county and the region, we hear that the technical skills are so important, and we've covered that need tonight. But also on the how do you train, how do you educate a student that they have to show up on time, and how do you train and educate a student that there's a hierarchy they have to follow and that they have to dress a certain way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's been a lot of talk this evening about training for skills, how to become a plumber, how to become a welder or a CNC operator. From the business perspective, those skills, the hard skills, are needed, but they are secondary to what's really needed. So when we created the AMP program, we looked at what do we need in our workforce. And the technical skills were important, but what we really needed were employees who could see the bigger picture of the business and see where their position fits into that, and how they could be a productive part of a team, not just learning a technical job, but to be able to see the business as a whole. And that's something that I think that I've seen usually takes years and years and years to get to the point in a company. You slowly work your way up, and we have the interest in saying, how can we make that happen a lot faster? Because the kinds of workers that we needed, that we still need, look much further than just the technical skill. They look at the business needs and they look at the business as a whole. And once they see how they fit into that and see how their contribution in whatever piece of the business they're involved with, they become far more productive employees, and that's what we're looking for. And I think most businesses value that really highly. So the question is, how did we do that? And when we sat down to think about this curriculum, this program, the first thing that we recognized was, just like in our business, we're not looking for people who can just paint or cut a piece of wood or do something. So we came up with a program that actually exposes the students to a very wide range of business activities. So they're in the program, they're going to learn how to build something out of wood. Well, they also, before they can build something, they have to learn how to design it. And before they learn how to, they think about designing it, they have to learn why they're designing it in that way. So they start out doing research. They're given projects, and the curriculum is a series of projects. So they're given a project, and they have to research how am I going to design this? Why is this going to be designed this way? And so, for example, something as simple as a birdhouse, they'll go out and they'll have to research what kind of birds are in this region, what kind of habitats do they need, and what are the needs. So their design, their thinking is based on some kind of factual background that they have to uncover themselves. And they have to take initiative to do this. This is not something which is handed to them. Once they figure out what their design is, they have to learn how to present it. So they learn and these are kids in learning technical skills. The program is teaching how to cut a piece of wood, how to assemble things, how to learn production skills. Then they have to learn how to present it, so they have to learn some artistic skills. They have to learn some drawing and some presentation. And then they have to learn how to sell their ideas. They have to stand up in front of the class, and not just their classmates, but all the business partners that are involved in the program. Parents come in. Sometimes there'll be 20, 30 people in these presentations, and they'll have to stand up and they'll have to present their ideas, and they'll have to sell the rest of the students and everybody in the room on their ideas. So there's salesmanship, there's communication graphically and verbally, and then the class votes on which of these projects is the best design, and that one project, that one design is selected, and then then it turns into a production-oriented exercise. So the first part is very individualistic. Each one is coming up with their ideas, they're selling their ideas. Then they all have to work together, because if there's 16 kids in the class, they have to produce 16 identical projects. And they learn production techniques, they learn lean manufacturing, they learn how to work in teams, they learn how to assemble, and there's even a marketing component, and sometimes they get into some very different areas. So there's one project that was done, they got to the end of the project, they market their projects, they sell their projects, and they sold a bunch of these projects, and just one day before the class ended, there was a design defect that was discovered. And so the class came together and said, well, what are we going to do about this? There's a product failure, and how are we going to deal with this? How would it be dealt with in the real world? So they came together, they figured out that they had to do a recall notice, they had to take corrective action, they had to call up the people who had bought the project, and so all of these pieces in kind of a real world way are brought together to give the students a very, very broad approach to the business as a whole, and that way they learn not just the technical skills, but what's really required by a business at a pretty high level. I know that was a lot. Hope that answered the question, though.
Mr. Commissioner, if I could follow up?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So here at Chesapeake College, to take Alan's great program and to kind of add some more, like maybe icing on that cake, there's a program here that the college teaches called the Workplace Excellence Series, and the subtitle is What Employers Really Want. And this is a 10-module program that covers flexibility, adaptability, dependability, workability, communicability, and so on. I'd love to see all of us take this class. I've taken this class. I'd love to see, as a resident of Queen Anne's County, I'm looking at my two friends from the Board of Education here, I'd love to see us offer this as an opportunity for students to sit in on one of these classes and actually hear what employers really want, to the original question, I think. Because we're not teaching it in the public school system. And I'm a dad of 3 kids who've gone through the public school system, and it doesn't happen. So I do think there's opportunity there. We're already teaching it at this college. It's available for incumbent workers. It's available for workers seeking employment. And the college is able to take it on the road and present it wherever it needs to be presented. And Dr. Coppersmith, I hope I'm not speaking completely out of turn.
No, I just would like to add that we are having faculty look at how to incorporate pieces of that into, say, a college-level communications course.
So for the last 10 minutes, we've heard of best management practice. We've heard of these great ideas that are being implemented in certain counties, in Denton, in Caroline County, in Chestertown, up in Kent County. We have these success stories, but these success stories aren't available to people in 5 counties. We have an opportunity now where we can offer this to 150,000 people, a population of 150,000. So we're probably looking at, I don't know, how many students are we looking in high school? About 9 or 10,000 kids that we can offer these huge success stories to. And the best part about this, and if we can get the ball rolling for this regional school, this regional approach, one, we can get all these kids involved, and 2, we have a 10th and 11th grade program that we can teach these soft skills. We'll have a program where they'll have a holistic approach. They'll have a program where they're teaching all these other skills, and then the entire life of this program is to prepare these kids for the Dixon valves that are out there, for all these companies who ABC represents. And honestly, if we can get this thing going the way we would envision it, I won't be involved because I'm not an expert in this. I'm not one of the business owners out there who's screaming for work or for helpers. But you guys would be part of the curriculum development. You guys would be part of sharing these success stories. And it won't be just limited to these 5 counties. We're going to reach out to Washington County. And I was just asking Cody now, I mean, like, how would you answer those questions that these guys just asked? How are you guys dealing with these things in Washington County?
You're spot on. When you develop a career technology education program, you first have stakeholders, and the stakeholders involve the businesses because you want to know what jobs are available. We don't have a program to create jobs that the student won't be successful in or align with. Then you have them on your program advisory committee. You have your community college folks on your program advisory committee. You have your associated builders and contractors on the program advisory committee. Everybody that's a stakeholder, economic development, everybody. And you sit there and you say, okay, the overarching goal, what are we looking at? Well, we need jobs here and here and here. What's the future jobs? These are the future jobs. And then what do our students need to be successful to obtain these jobs? That's where the curriculum is backwards mapped. And then from there, it's backwards mapped down to the grade level that you desire to start. So that's how we do it. And that's value added. As far as soft skills, we embed soft skills in all the programs at the Career and Tech Center. We have juniors that are student ambassadors. So when these gentlemen and ladies came to visit, you were greeted by students, and those students were in a program that taught them soft skills. They taught them how to interact with people, taught them how to be courteous, polite. We already have in our English classes how to write a resume, how to write a cover letter, how to do all those things. It's the personal interactions that is lacking, and that's where these programs come to play. Every single program prepares students to be work ready, so you go through that. If you want to do a work-based learning opportunity, whether that's the apprenticeship program or whether that's a paid internship or whatever it may be, whatever work-based learning program you do, you have to be ready to, one, be a good employee, which means show up, and 2, you have to interact with that person, and then 3, you want to have the time and to have those credentials. So that's how we get it. And I'm going to go off topic for 1 second because I keep thinking of things. We celebrate our successes. That's very important. That gets the perception of CTE changed. Wendy and Steve, they were like, we want to do a career signing day. You know how college athletes do the signing day. We did a career signing day. It's huge. All of our students that were signed into business owners were there. We lined up miles of people in line, and it was simple. Here's a table, here's the screen with the business logo, here's the students going to work for that business, put a hat on, shirt, whatever, shook hands, they were hired, they had a job, next company. And it was huge. It was a great success. So don't forget to celebrate your successes.
Absolutely. We got a question back there?
Hi, yes. My name is Catherine. I'm from Queen Anne's County. There's been a lot of really good talk about the different ways to be successful in these internships and these programs for skilled trades and technical learning and things like that. But I think something that I'd like to hear as a younger person who maybe is interested in breaking into that, and for the people here who are that person who maybe this is a new idea for them for breaking into this kind of thing. Like, what's step 1 for us? How do we start? How do we break into that idea of being successful in those internships? Like, where do we start to figure out for ourselves where we belong, what opportunities we can find? Like, where do we begin that process?
So I tell this story a lot, and again, I'm old, like some of these guys up here as well, but when I was in elementary school, and I know they can't do this anymore, but I was told by my 3rd grade teacher that, Jack, you're not going to be a doctor. You need to figure out something else. And it was good advice. I'm not a doctor, and thank God for a lot of people in the room. But I think where it comes in, and where educators sometimes have their hands tied nowadays, is they can't look at a student, and they can't identify that student for obvious reasons. That maybe you, right here in the front row, you're good with your hands. You should probably look at doing something along those lines. And in terms of age, I had a son who could take things apart and put them back together when he was 4 or 5 years old. But I had an ex-wife who decided he needed to go to college. He probably would have been better served going into the trades as I did. But I think right now, where we're at as a society, I think in middle school is where you really have to present these opportunities to kids and open their eyes, and more importantly than the kids' eyes, the parents' eyes, because for the last 30 years, and I can speak to that, the emphasis has been to push the traditional four-year college route. So that's kind of a brainwashing that's gone on for 30 years. Well, you don't get rid of that mentality overnight. So it's going to take a lot of outreach from everybody on this stage, everybody in this room, to and our educators realize it. And I've had conversations with them, and they know it. The opportunity's here. It's here now to give the big picture and say, look, here's your opportunities when you're in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So when you get to 9th and 10th grade, you're almost steering yourself where you want to be. And I think, to Cody's point earlier, one of the things he said that they probably would have rather done was going like 9th to 12th grade. And the reason being because they take that 9th and 10th grade years where they actually expose the kids to maybe some of the different programs that will be available, much like you do in college where you'll see different programs, and then when you're a junior and a senior, you decide this is what I'm going to major in. So I think that, to answer your question directly, I'm thinking in the middle school years right now is where we would open those, to put those opportunities out there.
And someone, I forget who it was, someone mentioned that the average age of people starting these apprenticeships for some reason is kind of early 20s instead of in that high school age. So let's say that someone is 23 years old or 24 years old and they're like, hey, this isn't working out. I need to, I'm going to try breaking into the skilled trades or something like that. Like my question, I guess, is maybe for Chesapeake College specifically, like, is there an event or an opportunity that I can go to get information specifically on a program that I might be interested in, or something very specific, like, that I can go to for more information on actually taking action on this myself?
We have open houses. We have one coming up. Help me, David. Is it? It's I think it's the 16th. Oh, sorry. On October 19th, open house. So that would be the first place to start. But you can come to Chesapeake College any day of the work week and talk to an advisor who will help you figure out what it is you're interested in and get you started. That's what we do. So, and actually, if you can talk to Joan Seitzer before you leave tonight, she'll get you started. She's right back there.
Another question down here.
Yeah.
Probably. Hi, Steve Donovan, Queen Anne's County. I'm kind of following up on what Jack said. In the 5 different counties, with all the parents and kids and that are here, grandparents, whoever, we need to kind of push the 5 different county boards of educations that this is the way to go, and get our word out to them. Hey, are you all coordinating with this program? You need all 5 of you to be talking to each other. Adam, I don't know if you could address how you're dealing with the 4 other county boards. I look at bureaucracies and I get nervous with them because they like to keep everything in. So is that opening up enough to get this to start rolling?
Well, yeah, just to clarify, we don't need all 5 to start the program. We need 2.
Right.
And I think success will, as you see success and build success, obviously more counties would probably want to participate, and or individual programs. Like I said, Dorchester has a fantastic new tech school down there, so they may not offer all the programs that are on the list, but they may have enough, and then they may want to send students here. So it's all about not closing doors to the students. So I think right now we get to 2 counties or all 5. I mean, it'd be great to get all 5, but we need a minimum of 2. So. Cody, you wanted to follow up on the previous question?
So a little bit of follow-up on recruitment, and then I'll break off into the apprenticeship program. For recruitment, since we are a 11 and 12 program, we have every 10th grader in the county tour the technical high school, and then they walk through, and that's why I was telling you about the student ambassadors. Those student ambassadors lead those tours, and kids talk to kids, and when kids talk to kids, that's pretty powerful. I can tell a kid something, and their peers tell them something. That means a whole lot different story to them. So we have about 1,800 kids go through the programs, and then they fill out an interest survey with their counselor. Hey, I really liked my number one choice was biomedical. My number two choice was collision repair, whatever. And so then they get a chance to come back on a half day and spend a half day in that program to see, is this really what I want to do? I'm going to spend a half day in there and I'm going to partake in the curriculum that these kids are doing. Do I really like it? Or, you know, is this something hey, wait, I want to check something else out. So that gives them an opportunity. But I agree, you need to push lower. Kids need to know what's available. So Steve said we need to take this lower, and so he went and partnered with our local community college, and we now have a career transition day for every 7th grader in the county. So we bused them over to the community college, and there we partnered with our Chamber of Commerce, our Greater Hagerstown, our downtown revitalization committees, and we have just nothing but businesses set up around the whole community college campus, and those kids can pick, divided into cluster areas. It's predetermined when they get there. So if they're interested in the information technology cluster, then you're headed in this block where all these local businesses are who are hiring for information technology, and that cluster is represented, medical's represented, and you get the picture. So every 7th grader, and you started that second year. This is second year implementation on this, and it's been pretty hugely successful. We want kids to know what's available in their county. We're trying to eliminate a transient workforce. We want our kids to work at home.
Jack, I got a couple questions back here.
Okay, we're going to be able to take, I think, one more question based on time, because I think the college wants to turn the lights out. It costs money for this stuff. So,
Kermit Hines, principal of Dorchester Career and Technology Center, Dorchester County. First of all, I would like to address your question. Maybe I can answer it a little bit better. The apprenticeship program was not offered for college students and CTE students when it was originally came about. It was for that middle-of-the-road student that had no idea what they wanted to do. So your school should have a job board posted for apprenticeships. If you're interested in one of those, apply. These businesses should welcome your want or desire to enter into one of those fields. Am I correct? Okay. Secondly, Dorchester County has 22 career programs in an almost brand new state-of-the-art facility. We have 18 programs within the Career Shared Time Center. So I don't know if you guys have reached out to Dorchester County, if anyone's talking to you from Dorchester County, but I understand that you don't have to have all 5 on board. But also I would like to know, what's it going to do to our programs when you put something out here that looks beneficial? And we've just spent $36 million on a state-of-the-art facility. That would be my concern. So do we need some polish? Absolutely. Everybody needs polish. Everybody needs to improve. But you need to take everything into consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll speak to that very quickly. Actually, we're very proud of what you guys have done, in Dorchester County, and that's the whole premise behind the bill that we put in last year. In fact, we had this discussion. We would anticipate, I know that your board has also talked about it, we would anticipate that there wouldn't be a lot of participation from Dorchester County because of that huge investment that was already been taken there. However, we're not going to stop rolling with this thing. I can tell you that because we also have 4 other counties that are in the Chesapeake College service area that can't participate in the amazing program that you guys are doing in Dorchester County. And to be quite honest, what I would love to see on campus here at Chesapeake College, because we're going to have 4 other counties and possibly Dorchester if we have programs here that you guys don't offer, is that, I want to have a school that's better than Dorchester, that's better than Anne Arundel, that's better than Washington County, that's better than Hartford County. We can do that because we're positioned in such a way where we can do that. The timing, the stars are lining up for us right now. We have Kerwin. Those guys haven't completely made all their decisions right now. I served on the NOC Commission over the last 2 years. We worked into the NOC Commission recommendation. Now it's state law that they're going to make career and tech infrastructure a priority. The state has to make it a priority. It's the current state law now. So the timing couldn't be any better for us to have a cutting-edge regional technology school on the campus of Chesapeake College, as long as we can get buy-in from, and mainly it's the educators, because I get it, I understand. They've been doing this for a while back home. You know, and they have programs that they're proud of. But you know what? We can do better. And I want to we can offer our students in 4 or 5 counties the best CTE, the best vocational, the best technical training that we can possibly give them. And it's not going to cost a lot of money. That's why this is also a great opportunity for us, because they have assets already here at Chesapeake College that we don't have to build. And we have ideas that are already out there that we don't have to spend time and money to try to replicate or try to create on our own. We can replicate all these best management practices that we've heard about already. So it isn't going to cost a ton of money. And we've also had interest in private investment for this school as well. So it's not going to cost a ton of money in order to be able to do this. It's not going to cost your traditional high school the amount of money to build a traditional high school. So the stars are lining up, and I can guarantee you, just because Dorchester County built a technical school down there, that I'm not going to allow 4 other counties in the Chesapeake College service area to be shortchanged. And I'm not saying that they're being shortchanged. We have great programming, but we can do better. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to stop. And I know that Commissioner Wilson's not going to stop until we do better.
All right. And I could add, we have other programs in our Washington County besides the Career Tech Center, and they're great programs. They exist. I mean, the Tech Center can't service every single student. So there's still going to be a high need for those programs. And I can't speak to anything except Washington County, of course. But I think that the Tech Center for us, in our circumstance, has programs that maybe a little higher end, not because the students have more time there. We can't duplicate those programs in a comprehensive high school setting. I'm not telling you they're not great programs, because that would be a falsity and a lie. They're really great programs. They exist in the comprehensive high school. Just the tech center, the kids have more time accessible to their tech area. Therefore, they get more credits. Therefore, that's why the tech center is a little bit more elitist. You have to try to get into it, and it's a higher level programming. That's, again, I'm just speaking for Washington County, so don't kill the messenger.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate it. I hope you walk out of here with a little bit more knowledge than you came in with. Please give our panelists a round of applause for coming out tonight, everybody. So, once again, the final plug on the back of your programs, if you could go sign up for information. We'll keep you informed on where the bills are going and how we're moving forward. Drive safe and have a good night.